All right, well, it is day 4 of floor day, and I think it's going to be the final day of floor day. You can see by the end of the day yesterday, I got seamed up. So here we go from 1 GOSB to Neller. So we've got a bead of foam on either end, and then along the beams they're supporting it. So it's not the prettiest looking thing in the world, but it doesn't need to be pretty. It's going to be buried under a layer of insulation soon. And that's exactly what our next step is. So I've got hopefully enough insulation up here to fill in this entire floor section. Again, it's 20 by 10, so 200 square feet. Yeah, so I think that step 1 is going to be just filling these guys up, making sure we have enough, and then hopefully putting down our subfloor. Since I'm really working to keep costs as low as possible, there's a chance that subfloor, the plywood we're going to lay down today, is just going to be the main floor. And if we do that, we'd paint it, make it look nice. But with that in mind, I'm going to be really conscientious about what side's facing up, how it's all laying together, knowing that it might be the surface that I'm going to be walking on once it's done. Yeah, that's enough blabbering. Let's get to it. All right, I want to take a few minutes to talk about what we're actually putting in these bays. We got Rockwool R23 here, and I went with Rockwool for 3 main reasons. First and foremost, for our 2x6s, so a 6-inch cavity, not quite 6 inches, 5 and something or other, we get R23 out of it. We're using the pink stuff, just like regular batt insulation fiberglass. It's really gonna be more like R21, R19. And the more insulation we have, the better, just across the board. Cold winters here, but we're also getting to the point up here in Alaska where we also have to start thinking about heat in the summertime. We reached 90 degrees for the first time ever in Anchorage a couple of summers ago. We'd never gotten above 85 before that, and we hit 95. Summer and winter insulation, it's a thing, have to worry about it. The second reason I really like Rockwool is that it's made from waste. It's a mineral mix that comes out of the waste stream of industrial processes and gets made into this insulation. And since it's waste, since it's mineral, rock, metal, waste, leads to the third thing that I really like about it, which is that it's super fire resistant. I've got a lighter in my pocket and probably too zoomed out to see, but I could just, pop it with a lighter. Nothing. I love that. I especially love it for this design because we're gonna have a wood stove in the cabin. We're probably gonna have a sauna either attached or very close to the cabin. So those are 2, potential fire sources. They're both safe on their own, but every little source of heat, source of flame you have increases that risk a little. So on the other hand, every little countermeasure I can have, I'm stoked about. Yeah, so I've got 5 bags of these, which should be enough square footage to cover the whole floor. Oh yeah, 5 bags of these. That's another thing that is kind of a bonus 4th thing that I really like about this Rockwool. I thought there was going to be a premium on it, but it was really no more expensive than the generic run-of-the-mill pink stuff. I think when you break it down by square foot, which gets a little tricky because, each bag covers a different square footage, so depending on how you round, may or may not be your true cost, but this stuff was like $1.70 a square foot at the local shop, and the regular pink stuff was maybe like $1.67 a square foot. So it's a little more expensive, but negligible. And like I said, depending on how you round, you might end up even being cheaper if you don't need as much. Yeah, let's start opening them up, filling bats into our cavities, and see what we think. just like that, we're insulated. And man, I don't like to swear, but holy cow, she looked good. Yeah, super pleased. It was super easy getting these bats in. Took maybe 30 minutes to do the whole thing. Yeah, easy. We had a little bit of they didn't quite line up at the end. Had some kind of cutting and pasting there at the end to make it all fit, but we ended up with some excess, which is great. So the next step is going to be putting on our subfloor, which might be the main floor, which should be pretty easy compared to what we were doing the past 2 days underneath. I'm looking forward to using gravity to my advantage instead of fighting it. Yeah, we might have a floor by the end of the day, which would be pretty rad. All right, so for these guys, I'm starting in the middle and then working my way out. When you're putting down subfloor, you want the long end, so the 8-foot end, to be running perpendicular to your studs. So that's what I've got here. It also works out well with our geometry, just long boards running the long way. And you want to start in the middle and work your way out so that you can get lined up with the stud properly. Here I'm not perfectly centered, but I'm close. So I have, a half a stud hanging out here, half a stud hanging out on that end. And then as we go each direction, you're going to keep that spacing on your studs, assuming they're marked out and measured properly, spaced properly. And then there's going to be some excess to trim off the edges, which is to plan. Talking about how we're going to put these down too, it's pretty simple. We've got some adhesive, just like construction grade, liquid nails I think it is. Then I'm going to run down each board, down each stud. Squirrel. Always on moose alert. So yeah, we're gonna run some liquid nails down each stud. That'll help lock it in place and prevent any squeaking in the future. And then use the nail gun. We're gonna have to dial back the settings a little bit to make sure we're not penetrating way into the wood to secure it down each stud. I think code is every 6 inches along the edges and then every 12 inches going this way. One thing I've been a little nervous about with this, which I'm experiencing right now, is we've got good stability going this way, but it's a little rocky going this way. The good news is that we have the ability to go underneath and put some trusses underneath the cabin. So I think that just made it onto my to-do list, because yeah. All right, onward. All right, here we are, getting close. The battery died, and thankfully I had a little battery backup charger with me, so I was able to get one topped up, hopefully just in time for the finish here. We got a lot of plywood down. Had a little bit of a scare, thinking that I wasn't gonna have enough, that I did my math wrong. I was doing 10 by 20, but it's really 10 foot 3, 10 foot 4, because we have our, 20 foot beams. 20 foot, not beams. I really need to get better with these terms. So they're like the joists on the end joists, to account for in the width. So that is an extra 4 inches if you're just considering a 2x6 to be 2 inches wide. It's just gonna mean, I think, one more cut, maybe not even one more cut than I was expecting, but 200 square feet divided by 32 square feet, which is how big a piece of plywood is like 6 1/4. So I should have 3/4 of a sheet left over. We're gonna get this one down, cut it down, and then hopefully there should be enough length left over on it to go in that far corner. And then we've got this one little piece to fill, which looks like you can't see, just a 16 on center gap. Yeah, we're getting close. Sun's just barely sticking up still. It's gonna go down here pretty quick. Yeah, feeling great. All right, last little piece. It's admittedly off by just a scotch, maybe like a 1/4 inch on this end, which is a bummer. But otherwise, I'm really happy with how everything turned out. Square and true, which, yeah, had my doubts a couple times. But hey, I guess if you measure and just keep making sure you're on track, measure twice, cut once, or in my case, it seems like it's measure 3 times, mess it up, measure 6 more times, then you get it. The final puzzle piece, let's put her in place. What do you think? Stuff never happens when you plan it. Shh. that wraps up floor day. Ooh, that feels good. I'm toasted though. A few things have changed since we were last here. About 30 inches of change.